Terrible mood. Excuse me if I'm being rude. I'm just feeling funkalero. Know what I mean? When a word just doesn't fit, I crawl down inside of it. I stretch it out a little bit. Call on my prodigious wit. Although it makes some folks see red, I just do it here inside of my head. Think that I'll go back to bed. You see, I'm feeling funkalero. Know what I mean? Don't you know I could not get out of my bed? The world is spinning, spinning, spinning all around inside of my head. Sometimes life seems unfair, and nobody seems to care. Shut I don't know how my money's gonna give a new attitude. Got no money, got no way to ship it, see about what to do. Spot the minute when I do what I do. Sweep up, I'm feeling funkalero. Been looking for a word to say how I feel about today. You see, everything is cold and gray. Nothing seemed to go my way. It's a funky attitude, and I'm really in a terrible mood. Excuse me if I'm being rude. I'm just feeling funky. When a word just doesn't fit, I crawl down inside of it. I stretch it out a little bit. Call on my prodigious wit, and though it makes some folks see red, I just do it here inside of my head. Think that I'll go back to bed. You see, I'm feeling funkalero. Can you really dig what I mean?
Oh man, that's so cool. So cool. Oh,
Yes, I have sung that a lot
have
since
you?
the Bill Evans record came out. Yes, it was one of my most
Oh,
popular songs on the road.
oh, it's such a
Yes,
cool song. The groove is my kind of groove, and the
swinging,
song is so cool.
swinging. So
Yeah.
yeah, Karen Gallinger wrote those lyrics. You might remember
Oh.
she also made a tribute to Bill Evans,
Uh-huh.
as did Tierney Sutton,
Uh-huh.
and we all at the same time. So it was um, it was interesting how all that worked out. Because of Nanette and the Bill Evans estate in dealing with the
Yeah.
various people, because Nanette had choices to make, and I had actually written my own lyrics to Funkalero, and they weren't okayed because Karen's were sanctioned first,
Yeah.
and so it's all right. I was bound and determined to get the record out. The Vitro determination will generally win out. um, it's if I have to climb a mountain, then we'll just get put on our boots and start climbing.
That's
So,
how I know you.
well, I was trying to remember how many times I've given workshops for you, at least a couple of times,
Yeah, at least.
and I always keep up with what you're doing, and I'm always inspired by what you're doing,
Oh,
and your personal progress as a singer, and then the various ways that you have kept going, and in your teaching and in your performing and in your writing and your traveling when we could travel. Um, and that's what it's all about for us, especially right now.
Yeah, well, right back at you. I'm always keeping an eye on you too. And I mean, yeah, I think when I was announcing that you were coming, I was like, she's like the real go-getter person, which, I mean, there's a lot to say for that. You really, I think some people seem to just, I don't know, they're on whatever spiritual path they're on. They don't have to do a thing and everything just kind of flows in. I think
You
you
know,
and I are on a different path than that.
I, I was from the bootstraps up from a young child. I was just, we take the cards that were dealt, and then we figure it out. And life isn't easy any way that you look at it. And like you say, some people look like there's little dings going on my Facebook. Um, some people just, like you say, are just blessed to be able to, whatever their situation is, their just being is just works. And uh, because in any business, and especially in the arts, we all know that there is a variety of reasons that certain people uh, get notoriety, receive notoriety, and other very deserving people do not. And they're always looking for answers. My heart goes out to all of them. you know,
Uh,
I wish I could, as a teacher, as you and I as teachers, as we try to explain to our students and the beautiful young minds and voices that go into singing and music and playing, or dancing or painting or any of the arts, um, I wish there was an easier answer other than learning your craft well, working on your discipline, working on your creativity, finding a peaceful spiritual path if at all possible. All those, it's such a big picture, um, to allow not to head to the Brooklyn Bridge and jump. I mean, it's like, it's like I live in New York City, like you live in LA, where these are two hubs of performing. And so they're either people try in LA or they try in New York, and generally they'll give one or the other a try. And I'm telling you, New York, wow, not that LA is easy either. It's just it's a different ball game. I always loved LA and loved all the beautiful people. In New York, I kind of loved that everybody was kind of funky and crusty. People are like looking at you like, what do you want from me? Because they're asked every two steps, for something. And but really, New Yorkers at their heart are very giving, understanding people. They just have a tougher crust from having to deal with just hordes of people, whether it's on the subway or wherever. It's really, you're just in a big ant pile.
oh gosh. Well, you have a few hellos here. Lisa Rich, Scott Whitfield, Mike Campbell.
Oh, I love Scott and Mike and Lisa.
Yeah, and Mike says,
Thank
I
you
love
for
me some
joining me.
Roseanna Vitro.
Well, Lisa and all of us have a story, and the three of those vocal artists certainly have theirs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I spoke to Scott about maybe taking Pete McGinnis's place in my Rosie and Mel Torme show
Oh,
that I put together. And when Pete McGinnis got involved with the Royal Bobsters, I hadn't recorded my Rosie and Mel yet, so I was like, I saw Scott in L.A. and talked to him about singing, and then Mike Campbell. I haven't met Mike very much. We've mainly been online and interacting. You can say more about that, Mike, unless if I'm just so old I've forgotten if we had interactions. I mean, I didn't marry you at one point, did I? Or
you didn't. I know.
You're
I
not
haven't.
one of my
No, he was
husbands,
only
are
married
you?
once. Yeah, he was married for a really long time to the same woman.
But I just love my other singer friends. I just feel like we're all
Yeah. Well, Dina
just.
DeRose is on. She's going to be on tomorrow, by the way.
I saw that Dina's going to be on. I love Dina dearly. I of course I know Dina's story very well, and all of the things that she's been through in her career, to get vocally where she's at now, to get where she's at as a teacher, as an artist, performer that people love, a pianist that's won over the affection of some of the greatest pianists in the world. I mean, that's no short order, Miss Dina.
Little Miss Dina.
Little Miss Dina. I hired Dina to do a tour with me in the UK years ago.
Oh,
And it was cute because Dina said, I spoke to her about singing a song, a couple of songs or something on my set, or singing with me. And she said, "You mean you let me sing with you, or it's okay if I sing?" And I said, "Yeah." And I think because I was the act
yeah,
hiring her
yeah.
as the pianist, I think she was a little surprised. But I've had pianists, drummers that they want to scat. First of all, the drummers, particularly Tim Horner, I'm talking to you, really want to scat and show their rhythmic acuity, which is pretty damn fine, And it's like asking Bob Stoloff to sit in with you on percussion.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's going to be more than doot and doot and doot 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 and doot and da. But I'm open to it. The old timers got me started, and
Well, isn't that part of why you and I, were attracted to jazz, because of the graciousness and the welcoming in to everybody, the family of all of us, right? We're all family, and so, to
it was a
be
different concept.
competitive.
Yeah,
Yeah, competition was a different thing for us coming up. It was not, it wasn't like kill or be killed. It was more like, hey, Roseanna has a gig. I should get that gig too, But it was still like,
how did that bitch get it?
right.
How did she get that gig? How did she get this? How did he get that? It's like sometimes it's just luck. It's like I won't mention these players' names because I wouldn't want to upset them, but I've seen some fantastic players on Facebook say, they're crying in their beer about, why didn't Downbeat mention me, or why wasn't I in the poll, and then all the rest of us on Facebook that have been in the business a long time go, hey, everybody knows you play your ass off. And so it's just that whatever guy or whatever girl attracted the journalist or the voters at a particular time, they were either the flavor of the year or the month, or they had a deal in the old days when deals were had.
Yeah.
It would be that you had a deal and Telarc was advertising you.
Yeah.
And so you were on the front of the plate for a minute, but it by no means meant that some of the greats that Lou Tobacco didn't deserve as much acclaim as Joel Fromm, or a lot of the various people that are just quickly coming to mind to me, the people that I love their playing that are all deserving. In LA or New York and elsewhere, we know there's just tons of players who play their butts off, who practice long hours, and sometimes they weren't born with a personality, as far as, BS, how those happy glad handers that look good and have good teeth sometimes get further than those guys that are like, hey, I've been practicing for 8 hours and I can play as good as John Coltrane. So what do you think about that?
But you know what? Really, really, for me, I mean, I have to live in this particular spiritual concept, which is, if you get something that is fabulous, it's not it's not anything in the material world that I can put all the credit on. It's that you have a particular spiritual path, and this is where you are on the path. And if I want that and I haven't got that, I just haven't done my own work to get
Mm-hmm.
that. And also, I also think because I create my reality and I create Roseanna Vitro in my life right now,
Right.
that you are part of
Right.
me and you are in that area and you won. So that means I won too, because you're part of me. So I won through you. So
Well,
I
that's
like
very
thinking
deep.
like
That's a
that.
very deep spiritual path that you're talking about, that I think takes some real learning, some real understanding, and sometimes more time on the planet for artists to get. I'm not sure how long it takes to learn some of these lessons that you're describing so well, that you're expressing so well.
Yeah, I've definitely been here a few times.
Been around the block, is that
Yeah.
what?
But now I feel like, hey, I think I'm getting a little closer. Hey, these ideas, they work good. Actually, right now, to tell you the truth, if I don't read something kind of spiritual every day, I'm not doing that well. I get too much into the material
Oh God.
and the whole scenario of what's out there,
Oh, oh.
and it's upsetting.
It's
So if I
such,
read the spiritual stuff, then I'm reminded of what I really believe, what is real and where I'm from and what is important. And so because otherwise it's pretty hard right now, we're all freaked out in
it's
our own
very
ways.
dark. It is so dark. I had a voice lesson on Friday. I've been keeping up with my voice lessons with Barbara Mayer, my 85-year-old teacher,
Huh.
who I've gotten to write a book, by the way, that will
Oh my
be
gosh,
setting up on a website soon. And I started her a page on Facebook.
fantastic.
Um, but literally, I wound up crying, which I can't remember how many years ago it was that I cried in a voice lesson. Um,
I
on
did
working on
last voice lesson I cried.
well, no, I mean, I was doing certain exercises, and my last note of these exercises was flat, and I was like, God, how long have I been working on singing? You know, God, I'm going into another decade soon, and I'm still taking voice lessons, and I'm, still working on my musicianship, for God's sakes. And I'm wanting, I worked so hard to be a good teacher. Teaching meant the world to me, to be able to give what all the singers needed to have. It really meant more than even my own career and stuff. I was so honored to be a teacher. I was such an unlikely person to be a teacher. I was like a wild woman that they brought in from the outback, and civilized in some ways. Um, because Janis Joplin was my role model. After some good teaching in high school of theater music and classical music and folk music, and then the rock and roll and started, as we went on to college. I mean, I did a couple of years of college in Texarkana, my hometown, at the incredible Texarkana College. And hey, listen, I'm glad to get any learning in. And, I always studied privately too. I have to say, Fred Hirsch was significant and Kenny Werner were significant in my life, besides my opera teacher. But yes, it's the darkness, the keeping from losing it. I just couldn't believe that I got so upset over this flat note, but I'm like not singing enough right now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of singers, this is something I wanted to talk about today, on how we're going to be moving forward, and the sort of the spiritual aspects that you're talking about, suggesting reading something positive and spiritual every day. I have to remember to do these things. It feels like I can't keep up with everything I'm supposed to do every day. I'm not sure.
Oh no, you're not alone.
What that is like. It seems like I'm cooking and cleaning all the time. And it's just daunting. It's daunting. I have an assistant and best friend, Elizabeth Tomboulian.
Oh, she's on, by the way.
Is a dear friend. I produced an album for her last year that did very well, and I was so thrilled to see her album do well. And she has a saying that I have taken up that may help others, that she talks about pretender voices. And those are the voices when we feel insecure as people or musicians. We're not singing, we're not practicing enough, or we're not doing gigs now. And or if we're jealous of, somebody else is doing Facebook Live right now. My friend Cindy Scott has got her performance hookup and she's singing right now, and I'm missing her singing. And I don't have my thing hooked up yet, and I'm married to a great recording engineer, and he's building a studio. And Elizabeth says, pretender voices, when you hear these voices of any jealousy or insecurity, you have to tell those voices to be quiet, to leave you alone, and that it's just, clear it away. Clean the deck, clean off your desktop, in your brain of the busy little brains of creative people. And we're so oversensitive, our hearts were like open wounds. We walk around with no protection sometimes, no matter how old we are, how many records we made, how many successes we've had.
Wow. You just said it all, actually. Yeah, that's
it's
yeah.
the Vitro explosion.
Well, that's all so true. I used to talk about that there was this little guy with the suitcase on my shoulder, Hey, what are you doing that for? Oh, you really suck, And Rebecca Paris used to call it. Yeah, Rebecca Paris called it the suck monster.
Oh,
hey, what are you doing? You suck. Look, he thinks you suck. Oh, it's just like all this stuff, right? So, but what I did was I acknowledged that the guy was there, and I just said, I know you're there, but I'm going to do what I'm doing anyway. So, screw off, basically. And And that would work. We come up with all these little ideas. It's like teaching. We can tell a student to think a certain way, but really they're going to get their own concept of it, right? Whatever it is, and they're going to run with that, which is great. That's what we want. So yeah, there's so much to learn, and that's why I really love talking to all these people, because everybody really has this point of view, but comes up with it in a different way or has significance on certain things. But everybody has this point of view. We're humans, and we happen to be artists too. So we're empaths. We soak it in, and the open wound thing. I can't believe how thin-skinned I am. I just didn't realize it until I started posting things and people attacked me. I was like, ow,
Exactly.
that really actually hurts. And yeah, so I agree with all of this. But before it gets too crazy, I just want to say hello to from other people: Steve Taylor,
Oh,
Joyce
hi, Steve.
Glasgow, and
Hi, Joy.
Elizabeth is on, and Bill Winokur. He said it's a thrill to
Oh,
see you two
yes,
together.
drummer,
Yeah. And Mike
Boston.
Campbell said we met at a couple of times at IAJE. I
Oh,
was on.
and that's what I thought it was at an educator's convention. I always read whatever he's texting or, on Facebook or when he's doing something. And since have had J Voice for several years now, although it's not as used as much as it used to be, but I've always been into the vocal educators. I am, by the way, starting September 21st, I am doing 2 classes for the California Jazz Conservatory. And I'm doing musicianship for singers on Mondays from 4 o'clock New York time, 1 o'clock SF. And then on Thursdays, a class I've been wanting to create for a few years is improvising with lyrics for singers. And I'm very excited about this, that Lori Antonioli wrote to me and asked me if I would be interested to do this. I have not been teaching for the last couple of years. And I resigned from NJCU in 2017 because the program changed. It changed up for singers. A couple of programs I've taught in were taken over by instrumentalists who did not understand what singers need.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very strongly that singers need to have a drummer, bass, and piano. And they need to sit at the drums and play those brushes for a minute and understand what that is. And they need to sing with the bass and talk to the bass player and understand what that is. And you need all of it. You don't just need a piano player.
Yeah.
So whether it was NJPAC Jazz for Teens for 13 years or the NJCU for almost 19 and a half. So I am looking forward to this, and it will be my first time teaching a college classes on Zoom. Zoom.
Zoom, your friend, Zoom.
Yeah, so if we had a bunch of windows, we could start scatting with all the singers that are on.
I know. I know. I want to try Jam Kazam because I saw Kendra do a pretty nice Jam Kazam thing. And it was swing. It was like an easy swing. And I didn't really notice latency.
Well, and I saw that she and Dean and Jim Riddle are doing something new coming up. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the last one. I'm missing so much stuff. I'm also a
cleaning and cooking.
I'm a grandmother now. So Grammy Rowe is my name, Grammy Rowe. And baby Jack is 8 months old. And it is truly an incredible joy. Since I had a girl, now this is a boy. So, wow. They're different. They're different, the little critters.
I have two boys and two girls, grandchildren. They're both they're both side both stepdaughters of mine have like they have two girls and two boys, and the youngest one is four, around four, and then the oldest one is around eight.
Oh, okay.
They are. It's fun because I never had kids, so to
You're
see
ahead of
them,
me. Yeah,
yeah,
you're ahead
little
of me.
little people. It's just yeah, it's pretty wild.
No, there, yeah. It really brings you back to what's important. Um, when you imagine this new human starting out on their journey and what they're going to face in this world and how much it matters that we unify in our country and get it together. It is ridiculous the crazy stuff that's going on that is so divisive and scary and just BS, just tons and tons of false information and people carrying around swords to fight the man from La Mancha. They're like, I, it's hard to understand or to fathom when we're all human and we're all there's. You either have children or you don't. You get married or you don't. You're gay or you're not. You're from somewhere else. You're a redneck. You're not a redneck. You're from I mean, it it's we're all the same, and it makes me very sad that there's not more unity right now.
Well, we're working on it. People. I mean, people are working on it. It's not going to happen overnight, even no matter how big a deal we do. But I think there's significant work towards it, but it's going to take a while. But we
I
all
think it's
have
going to
our
take a
own.
while. It's going to take a long while. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, again, that's why I read spiritual stuff to remember what actually is real, you know. Um, but, even if we all were creating this reality together, each our own separate realities that are joining together, you have to be enlightened or along the road to enlightenment, to watch what you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like you said, there's a lot going on, and we really have to work together. Um, but
We do. One of the topics I wanted to get to today was um, I was so interested to reach out to the community to see all of the different programs by singers and instrumentalists and whoever, managers, record people, whoever, that are helping artists adjust to the new paradigm. I'm I'm going to be writing an interview with Alexis Cole, who I know you just recently interviewed,
yeah,
and because well, not only is Alexis uh, a wonderful singer and musician and teacher, but her ability, while you know she's digitally hip, locked up in her cabin in Pennsylvania alone, and
plumbing
apparently,
plumbing stuff. She plumbed an
she's
outside shower, and she plumbed her washer, and
well, she's an amazing person, and the guy that forges his way through the woods out there to find that woman is going to really have a fine woman. If it's going to take a strong man to get that one, but she's her starting the jazzvoice.com and presenting singers of different styles, naturally, because there's so many of us with different styles, and um, workshops, the Jane Monheit, Carn Allison, I think Vanessa Rubin is tomorrow or today or something. you know, and then having the smarts to do a subscription series because that's the way people make money. So she's come up with a way to make money
Yeah.
and to help the community.
Right.
And I think that's a big deal. And you know, I know that there are other, you know, managers online who have the alternative venues. Um, why am I going blank on her name? I know her like I know my face. Um, Gail Boyd.
Oh,
Gail
yeah.
Gail
Gail
Boyd
Boyd.
has an alternative venues site, and she's presenting a lot of people talking about alternative ways to perform, I believe, and performing. And so I'm looking for that right now because my husband is building a television recording video studio in our basement. We
Wow.
moved after 35 years. We are now located in South Orange instead of Warren, New Jersey. It's a big deal and it's been a big move. And after 35 years, I've got to tell you, it's really hard. Um, but my husband, Paul Wycliffe, who's, you know, one of the world's great engineers, he built Skyline Studios 1 and 2 years ago, where Eric Clapton and Mariah Carey cut Vision of Love, and Al Jarreau was there, and on and on and on. Um, you know, Paul, at our elder age here, our maturity, I like to say, wants to help the community. And, you know, he has some new idea about that hasn't been done ever been done. He says the connection of television, video, and recording. And he's building that in our basement now that we finally sold our house this last week. The other one finally is finished. Wow. Um, and so I'm wanting to learn about all the different ways that we could either get a satellite feed or there's something new, the MP music distribution in Canada that's going on now that Mike Carlson, my radio guy for so many records, told me about that I've explored now and I'm signed on to.
Are you talking about MPE or something
Yes.
else?
Well,
Oh,
you know, the Canadian
MPE.
site.
You mean MPE that you pay 250 and they send it all over?
Yeah. Yes. And that they interview people to be on board, that they make sure that they know really that you're serious, that you're a substantial artist, whether you're new or have many records, and that you know what genre, if it's a track you're pushing, because these days a single can be pushed the same as an album. But my understanding is in the United States so far, and anybody correct me that's wrong, that if I'm wrong, that what DJs still like in the US so far is they like to know that a track, if you're pushing a track, that it's part of a CD, and that they will get the information about your CD in the mail along with the one track, that they're not just going to play one-off MP3s by people
Apparently,
listening to vinyl.
apparently jazz radio is like that.
Yeah, the jazz. And obviously, no matter how many times I've put my toes in other worlds, you know, whether it's the blues kick-ass record, which was my last record, Tell Me the Truth, and that was my tribute to my Southern roots. And I closed it with a gospel song for my mother, Ruby, that passed last year, and sang with Kate McGarry and Cindy Scott on I'll Fly Away.
Oh, oh wow.
So I had a gospel song. I had John Hendrix's the title track was John Hendrix's Tell Me the Truth, that I actually learned in like 1975 or 6 or something. And the lyrics fit what's happening right now. And then I did, you know, some other stuff. So whether it's that genre, if I was just going to push either a bluesy tune, Walking After Midnight from that record, or I'll Fly Away, gospel song, I would, with the MPE, is it?
Play MPE.
Play MPE, thank you. um, then I could choose one of the genres that was the appropriate genre, because obviously straight ahead jazz people are not necessarily going to be interested in those tracks necessarily.
Yeah.
Some depends on the DJ, of course, in the station.
Yeah. It can we hear that? I mean, is that on YouTube or Spotify?
Absolutely. I've got. You mean Tell Me the Truth?
Uh, I mean,
Or I'll Fly Away? Or
yeah, I'll fly away.
do you want to hear a minute a minute of it? I'm supposed to be hooked up here because Mr. Paul Wycliffe
Ah.
said it was so. I even had made sure that I had Listen Here, my first record that I'm releasing for the first time in September, on streaming and CD.
There's one that I want to hear too that always was one of my favorites. Let me just look in
Let
my
me see if I've got if it's,
um,
do you hear that?
yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
I had Mark Soskin play gospel, true Arkansas gospel piano there. Sarah Caswell. Is that volume okay?
Sounds good so far.
My arrangement with Mark Soskin.
Some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home
Kate.
on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. Fly away. When the ship.
All right, so that's a taste of it, and it's on Spotify, and Amazon, and I was very proud of it. There's always, what I try to tell my students through the years, and any artist that is confused about how it goes with your airplay, is you never know who will like what album. I've got all my girls behind me here. This is the Listen Here that's going to be released in September. That was Kenny Barron's trio, Ben Riley, Buster Williams, and Arnett Cobb. And Bliss Rodriguez on the piano on Centerpiece, by the way.
Huh.
He told me to say hello to you.
Wow.
I talked to him yesterday.
Really?
Yes, and then my Steve Allen record, my fusion record with Fred Hirsch. Fred Hirsch wrote the arrangements on this. So I have to say, in my history of recording, which is 14 records at this point, they go all over behind me. I always chose the greatest musicians and aspired to learn from them. And not that I could ever keep up with half of them, the Kenny Werners, the Fred Hirsches, or Sarah Caswells, or Mark Soskins, or, you know what I mean? They're all, all beautiful, beautiful musicians. And,
Which were the
Yes.
Kenny Werner ones? Was it Tropical Postcards or something?
Well, now Kenny Werner, one of my favorite CDs was Reaching for the Moon here. Reaching for the Moon,
Yeah.
and that was one of the first ones on my Steve Allen tribute in the early days. Half of that was Fred Hirsch and half was Kenny Werner, because those were my two piano players in my early days in New York. When I was new from Texas, I'd driven in with Scott Hardy, great guitar player who now is bassist with Leslie Pinchick. By the way, she's a wonderful composer, and you'll be interested in her, I know.
Yeah.
But I had asked in my early days, who are the two best piano players in town of the young guys our age then? I was 20, going on 27.
Yeah.
And they said Kenny Werner and Fred Hirsch, and they couldn't have been more different. They just couldn't have been more different. And I, at one time or the other, I was madly in love with both of them. And obviously, neither one of them worked out as a husband. But you know what? I just, even today, even though Fred and I aren't as close as we once were, we are still in touch. And when my grandson was born, he sent a CD of lullabies, which was the dearest thing in the world. And I do, yes, and I do stay in touch. And then
Hey.
Kenny gets in touch and says,
But there was
"Are
a
you
band,
guys okay?"
there was a band with Kenny and a bunch of guys that you were. It was the music. I'm trying to remember what the music was. It was
Delirium Blues Project. with a blue
Delirium
note.
Blues.
Oh man, that was
Oh,
crazy.
come on now. That was
That was
Delirium. How do you spell
wild,
Delirium?
really.
Delirium Blues.
Yes.
Okay, so
Delirium
yeah.
Blues Project.
Okay,
Jeff
now
Levinson, who's been a big help to me for many years, produced this for Half Note Records at the Blue Note. And it was my concept with Kenny, and it was really a blast, but it was like dropping some acid before going on stage with James Carter. Hello. I mean, Randy Brecker and just, Ray Anderson, just an incredible, incredible band. Rocky Bryan on drums, who's got a beat that you could drive a car through. John Patitucci, Adam Rogers on guitar.
okay, so I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to play one of my favorite cuts on that record. And
Let me guess what it is. Okay.
go ahead, guess.
What is hip?
Yes.
Kenny's very proud of it.
Listen to this, everybody.
So you worried about your trick bag, your ears on into a hip bag. You ain't just exactly sure what's hip. Started to let your hair grow, spend big money on your wardrobe. But somehow you know there's much more to this trip. What is hip? Tell me, if you think you know. What is hip? If you're really hip, the passing years will show you're on a hip trip. Maybe hipper than hip.
What a great remake of this song. Holy moly.
Oh man.
You became a part of the new breed, smoking only the best weed, hanging out on the so-called hippie set. Been seen in all the right places,
so good. We're going to listen to the whole thing because I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Great, great arrangement.
Oh, man, Kenny's the best.
And the drums really just drives it on through. It's so beautiful.
Oh, man, Rocky's bad.
This is what it is. Hipness is
It's live.
what it is. Hipness is all what it is. Sometimes hypnosis is what it is.
And who's on guitar?
Adam Rogers.
Found you a guru in an effort to find you a new you, and maybe even manage to raise your conscious level. While you're striving to find the right road, there's one thing you should know: what's hip today will always become passé. What is hip? Tell me if you think you know. What is hip? If you really hip, the passing skills are shown. You're on a hip trip, maybe hipper than hip. What is hip?
Oh, yeah. I forgot this was recorded live, too, right?
This was live, man. Oh, my God.
That's right. I couldn't believe that this was recorded live when I heard it.
Oh, man.
I was like, what?
Yeah, it was the first time I'd gotten one of those monitors that go in your ear, like the famous rock singers. You know, as
Yeah.
jazz singers, we don't use those.
Right, right.
And but in this band, I did. I had one, like I do right now. I had an earpiece in one ear, and I had to hear the band in the other ear, because you know how our whole grounding is as singers who've been in jazz for years is hearing the band live.
Yeah.
I need to be able to feel them, you know.
Yeah.
It can't just be in my earpieces, except in the studio. You kind of have that,
Yeah.
which I think I've grappled with for years,
Me too.
being able to sing like I would naturally in the studio, in what I call, like you're in a hospital. It's like, I don't always say this, like singing in a hospital.
Yeah.
But and some take to it better than others, and
Yeah.
of course I will continue to work on that, because I have two CDs in the can that I have not finished, that I needed to finish before Bob Dorough passed, and I didn't make it because he and Sheila Jordan are on my Sing a Song a Bird record. Good lyrics to Charlie Parker songs. Me singing bebop. Like, that was a exciting adventure for me because I wanted to align myself with two masters. And of course, I love both of them and have known them for such a long time. And
Yeah.
I have good video of us in the studio too.
Oh,
It's pretty cool.
nice.
And then an album I did with Kenny Werner that I mentally slated for Japan that is sort of beautiful melodies. And following Tell Me the Truth, I was thinking I want to do something that's really beautiful. And unfortunately, the day before the recording, my mom passed, and then I went to the recording thinking it was going to be healing. And I mean, it was in many ways, but in other ways, it was very sensitive. And the name of the album changed, and I added a song titled Ruby. They say, Ruby, you're like a
Like a
dream. That's my mother's name, Ruby
Oh,
Meadow.
yeah.
And so it changed, but Harry Allen, Dean Johnson, Alvester Garnett were on this particular record. And I just closed up the box and started packing to move and never did finish these two records. So I have that to do, and I need to keep practicing my voice and working on my improv and not crying in my voice lessons. Just practice. Get your practice time in. Then there's nothing to cry about.
I know the practice time it's hard. I mean, I'm excited by my voice lessons right now. And I still don't quite get to it all the time. And because I get distracted by other stuff that I want to do. But
Oh, look, you're
I
doing
wanted,
this. Look what you're doing. Oh
this
my
is great.
God.
Yeah. But I wanted to tell you one time in my voice lesson, we hit something really deep. And instead, I really should have gone for a cup of tea somewhere and relaxed, before I got into the car. I got into an accident on the way home. And it
Oh my
wasn't really
God.
my fault. I was on the freeway. Something happened. I stopped, ahead of me, and the guy behind me didn't see, and he rammed into me. But I got a new car. But still, I was like, okay, if that happens again in my lesson, because something had been stirred up, underneath.
Yes.
Do not get
Yes.
into the car and drive. Just relax, think about what you what you saw,
Well,
just kind of chill a little
it,
bit.
it's so heavy right now, though. We don't know when we're all going to be in a club again, and I haven't been, I used to frequently practice all these things in my car on my way to Manhattan and on my way back from Manhattan. And I would go to voice lessons and be standing there in front of Barbara Mayer. And everything is so different now. My dials are really turned up, and just trying to keep at peace, like you said, our spirits at peace in the middle of all of this, just raining, dark vibes from everywhere. There's so much, with people are starving, people can't pay their rent, people are, there's so much going on, and we're all just trying to hang on. I'm so it is a difficult time, and everything. Anybody that knows various performance sites or programs that are helping instrumentalists, singers, please private message me on Facebook so that I can mention that in my articles. I'm going to be writing for Jazz Times this interview of Alexis Cole, where I want to list some other venues, and then of course I'll post them on J Voice, and to for all of us to join together as much as possible to help each other at this time. I'm hoping to be able to set up, when we get our studio finished, some kind of performance space at our house in the recording video area downstairs. That's what we're hoping to do. Paul is hoping to help, just really help the community, because we could do that. We're capable of doing that and want to do that.
Do you have like a space like have you been to Janice Borla's house?
No, I haven't.
They have a very the bottom basement area is like the size of the whole house, right? And they when they moved in, they created like a drum booth, and it's really beautiful area. But I'm thinking your area is going to be pretty
And
big,
I
right?
think, I taught at one of Janice's summer workshops,
Yeah,
and worked with her, and I love her. She's
yeah.
amazing. And Jack Mouse as well. And I never went to their house though. So, um, it does sound very similar. Like Paul has already made a drum booth downstairs. He's already got his control room together because he's mixing people's projects already.
Yeah.
He did that first. And, and it's pretty big. The ceiling isn't as high as it used to be at Skyline, which is now Reservoir Studios in Manhattan. I'm not sure what's going on with them right now. I'm not sure what's going on with anybody right now. I know Birdland's trying to keep going. I know the Blue Note's trying to keep going. Smalls and Mesro, all of us, of course, love them so much. Trying to keep going. I gave Spike some bread.
Yeah. Joyce Glasgow said she'll send you a list of regular Jazz Live streamers of musicians and interviews and lessons.
Yes, I met Joyce up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Isn't it Seattle?
Yeah.
You know, Nick Anderson
Yeah.
up there in his concert series. I love him so much. He really, not only is he a great singer himself,
Yep.
but all his series, he really presented so many wonderful people and
Yeah.
had
He's been
such a
really
great community
Mm-hmm.
of jazz people. Ziggy, the photographer,
Yeah.
just a lot of great people. Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate that.
Yeah. 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 I remember at the old IAJE, the International Association of Jazz Educators, for those of you
Right.
listening, that was an organization that happened for 25 years, I think. And there was
Yes.
7,000 jazz people at these conventions for 4 days. What a party. That's all I have to say about that. And
The bar was really fun at night.
oh man, we had a good time. But um uh-oh, COVID brain. I was going to say something about that. Why did I bring that up, Roseanna?
Well,
Yeah, I remember. So one year I created a seminar that was of course, a connecting seminar, right? So I felt like, okay, we're all over the world. We could set up a community, all over the world. You and me,
Yes.
New York, me, or New in Jersey, Ingrid in Australia, and set that up. I can't even remember who I had in the talk.
all over the world. Listen, I have contacts all over the world.
I
You're
know.
so right.
Right. And actually, that was how I became friends with Ingrid James, who's like us in Queensland, Australia. And so we've been great friends since then. And it's really amazing, especially now, with how the internet is so open that we can actually.
Yes.
We can do anything with anybody. We can talk about, at least
That's right.
in this form, it's great.
That's right. Our UK contacts. I sang in Queenstown, New Zealand, I thought for a minute that's where you were going. I did a festival over there. I'm crazy about New Zealand, by the way. Chris McNulty is back in Australia,
She is?
and she is, and I'm not sure where she's located. I have to remember where she's located right now, but all over the world. And I've got friends in the Balkans and just various crazy places. I toured in Kazakhstan, and I know the jazz program there, and um, it's jazz. The jazz family is huge. Of straight ahead jazz guys, fusion jazz guys. Um, there's just everybody in the family, everybody in the family,
Yeah.
and there is something there that we're going to put together. We do need each other. It's, Cindy Scott had made a post yesterday or the day before about what this isolation has been doing to us.
I saw
And
that post. Yeah.
it was almost like some of the stuff we've been talking about, where it's almost like a therapy, when we recognize what this is for all of us. It's like I've been to Manhattan once in 5 months,
Yeah.
and to see my voice teacher in person, because she lives alone and she is afraid to have anybody in her house. She's 85 years old, and she knew I had been COVID tested and that I'm wearing my mask and gloves everywhere. And even with that, we're all worried their mistakes are easily made. You'll touch something, or you'll touch your face, or you'll see someone and won't have your mask on and say hello, you know. But it's very, very different right now. And so all the communication, I'm trying to remember to call people. Naturally, I'm behind. Michael G.
Yeah.
Nastis in the Ann Arbor area, and Linda Yons, Linda Yons over there. They used to work together at WEMU. Those of us who have promoted a lot of albums, the DJs and the journalists and all the different hubs in America, the Denver people, the San Francisco people, the LA people, the San Diego, all of us, just even in the United States, trying to stay connected and let people know we care about them, and are they okay? Is there anything we can do for them? Do they need anything?
Yeah. Well, it's really, I mean, it's amazing how many people we have touched us and we've touched them, and
Yeah.
who comes up in your thoughts, and then, then there's your family and people who you go, hey, wait a minute, I haven't talked to them in a really long time, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a really, it's that part of it's really interesting, I think. I have a group that's built off of Rhiannon, and it's called
Oh
Fish to
yeah.
Bird.
And that was the first Zoom class I took, by the way.
Oh,
Was Rhiannon's, when she was just getting her sea legs,
yeah, yeah.
and her group. Great. Now, what's your group called?
My group's called Fish to Birds.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so we're so used to getting together at least every 2 weeks to, create, and then, God, it's really been blank, and I mean we could get together on Zoom and do long notes. I mean, basically, we could, we're gonna do a little bit more, but still, yeah, it's harder to get it all together online. But I really miss that. Although I have gotten together a little bit with musicians, and next week I'm gonna do a little bit more because I really can't stand it anymore.
Well, I
I
think
really need to get
here,
together.
here. Yes, here, here, here. I realized when I cried in this lesson on Friday that I'm starting to crack. that I have got to, if I have to get Dean Johnson in a Zoom window and Lee Tombulian on piano, or Mark Soskin, or Jason Taborek, or whoever in my immediate zone. Hey, and Alan Broadbent lives in West Orange.
Oh,
Don Braden lives up the hill. Dave Stryker down the way. Kate Baker's over there. She's
oh,
probably going to come swimming later
say
with
hi for
us.
me.
I will. You know, she's doing great. That girl's a survivor. After her great husband Vic Juris passed,
Yeah.
I saw new pictures she's taken in a program she's putting together.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she's putting together something with Elizabeth Loenger, and telling me about the changes at the New School and their program. I'll let her tell you about that. And or maybe Amy London would be talking to you about it. But yeah, it's one of the things I wanted to start with Elizabeth. I told her we were going to call it E and Ro. You know, my nickname from everybody is Ro, not Roseanna. It's too long. Ro, and I call Elizabeth E a lot of times because it's short. And what I wanted to start is kind of a boot camp, if you'd call it that, really just a vocal workout for exercising our voices together. Because I used to do a whole round at the beginning of any class I did of certain exercises, some that Anne Marie Moss gave me years ago, my Lees and Dubba Dubbas and various things. Dubba 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 Dubba. You know, they kind of trumpet, they're really trumpet exercises
Uh-huh.
and sax exercises, some of them, but just to
I
stretch.
still have your workshop CD, by the way. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
I used to, my God, at the stuff I had before I moved, I had to throw so much stuff away. For 20 years, I made a work packet and
Yeah.
a CD for not only individual students at college, but for the classes. If I had a class workshop like yours, I would decide, I'd ask you what you thought this particular group of people may be interested in, and then I would go to all the different programs that I'm involved in or that I think are beneficial, an exercise from Stephanie Nikasian on Feeling the Beat, an exercise from Bob Stoloff for beginning scat singers, an exercise for Michelle Weir on rhythm changes. And, I had
Steve
every
Rollins. Yep.
yeah. And Darman with Rosanna Eckert has got a thing now. And listen, I knew Rosanna Eckert when she was just cutting her teeth down in Texas. She used to come in and sit in with me on gigs before she got to be a star in the teaching world. And I'm so happy for her.
She's such a smarty pants, man. She is so
she's
smart.
just a great musician, and she's done her work. She's another one of those artists and teachers I admire that had a laser focus.
Yep.
I'm all over the place. You've got to bring me in and point me and get me, I've got to say, okay, now, Rosanna, you've got to do this. You've got to do it. And because I'm all over the place. And she is somebody that's has the blessing of being laser focused, like my daughter. My daughter's that way. She's brilliant. My daughter's lifting 215 pounds these days.
Wow.
She got me into weightlifting, and I'm lifting 90, which is a big deal for Granny. Okay, that's a big deal for me. I've started on a nutrition and exercise program, but that kind of focus. But that's what I'd like to start with, Elizabeth, is a vocal boot camp online where 3 times a week, singers that want to work out with Elizabeth and I for even 30 minutes of just some soft warm-ups.
That's a good idea.
And then hit it, and then if you want to go take that to, Cathy Segal's creative group or Rhiannon's, to do, the wild and crazy things that Rhiannon does that has nothing to do with reading. It has to do with remembering and being able to know where to come back to, and improvising in a creative way, not a insane way. Some singers think going out is just absolutely crazy. You have to be open, but not actually crazy.
Well, you have to be focused. I mean, it's not just throwing spaghetti on the wall. It's like,
It's not. There's
yeah,
a lot that goes
yeah,
into.
yeah. The more
Um,
focused, the more free you can become. Oh, hi, Paul Jost.
Hi, Paul
Hello.
Jones. Yes.
By the way, Dina DeRose wants to know if you've done a recording or performance with Dean and you.
I've never done just a recording with Dean and I, and I've thought about it because we're so tight. After God, I don't even know how many years Dean and I have been playing together. He did two um, tours. Well, he's just done all kinds of tours with me and records with me, and I can remember him when he was married to his first wife. He's like, I mean, I've known my associations with my musicians in New York are very deep and long. It's nice. We're family. Yeah, we're family, and um, I would do that. And there's nothing like singing with bass and voice for your intonation, um,
Yeah.
to keep your intonation on.
Oh,
And
no
it's
kidding, man. And yeah, I've sung,
that's
I did a
that's
gig with a bass player. I just could not tune myself up. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, we were both hearing, something, whatever we were both locked on to our own intonation, but
his
not
attack. His
together.
attack makes the difference in what kind of sound he has on his bass.
Yeah.
If the bass, like an electric piano, is schmazed,
Yeah.
it's hell. And then you're hearing two octaves down
Yeah.
your precision. And in the studio, dig this, Cindy Scott was telling me she was having intonation problems with bass in her group. And she had them turn the bass way down to be able to sing in tune. And I'm like, well, if you're doing bass and voice,
Yeah. That's
you're
really,
not going to be able to do that.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the answer is for that, but certainly, fortunately for me, Dean's attack and his sound is very spot on.
Hmm.
His intonation is very good. There's no schmaze involved.
Yeah. By the
And
way, I just wanted to say before we move too far away from it, I think the 30 minutes of vocal warm-ups together, I love that idea. I think that's great. Nobody's doing it. And if you
I
share
need
that,
it.
if you share
I
that with
want
me, me
it.
too. If you share that with me, I'll share it with a lot of people because I think that's a great idea. That really indicates,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm hungry to sing and work out. And my technique lessons are not what I used to give students for the workout.
yeah,
When I went into the Jazz for Teens at NJ Pack on Saturday mornings, first thing after everybody told me whatever their stories were for the morning, it was hit it with the vocal exercises. And we did a good solid 30 that would get you ready to, jump high hurdles
yeah, yeah,
and various bebop heads that it takes a lot of precision to be able to do, what syllables to use with those, with the fast bebop licks. And it's some of those heads, if you're singing one of them after you've done some trumpet and tenor exercises, um, it's just really good for you, because those half steps in bebop are a bitch, and a good bitch.
yeah.
A bitch we love. And it's just good for you. I was never a real bebop singer, but I've always aspired to get some in my suitcase.
Hey,
And
I would like to show people a little bit of you. So I want you to show me something that I can show people on YouTube. Um, so here's, I mean,
Well, now, of course, this new clip with Mark Murphy and Roseanna Vitro was in 2001, and I'm just now going through my archives. I have lived like somebody whose feet were on fire running down the road, and I never stopped to archive or to present so much of my stuff. I was just too busy, and so now my husband digitized a lot of my videos and my recordings that were never digitized. And so this particular excerpt is from Mark Murphy and I at the Blue Note, and it's just nothing but a hoot. It's a hilarious hoot. And it's me being my audacious bawdy Texas self, and Mark being his completely insane, adorable, outrageous self. And it's a blues.
let's watch it.
He's got a good spirit. He nurtures all of us.
Yeah, the sound.
Wasn't for me that we know you.
Oh, it's loud, it's loud. Turn down your volume, Steve.
Every day, I have the blues. Every day, every day I have the blues. Speaking of bad on the trouble, yeah, you know I got my shoes.
Whoa, stick it in your suitcase, moving on down the line. Stick it in your suitcase, moving on down the line. Ain't nobody worried, sure ain't nobody crying.
Roseanna, girls from New Jersey don't usually sing like you. Girls from New Jersey, they don't usually sing like you. You must have taken some of that good stuff out there. Woo! Because it really, really is you, yeah.
Swing do your Mark Murphy. He's standing in his bed play, singing his song.
I went to the mountain to call that baby of mine. I went up to the mountain to call that baby of mine. But she's still up there. Something like it. You're so cute. Cute. Oh,
That's a great cut, man.
Is that hilarious?
I love that. Oh, I miss him. Oh God, I miss him.
Oh Lord.
He's such a
Yeah.
nice person.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. Mary Pearson sent that to me. She's a wonderful singer,
Yeah.
and she was on the bill at that gig. I couldn't even remember everything about it. I thought it was a gig where there were 30 singers after 9/11. She said no, it was another gig with 6 of us singers: Tessa Suter and Linda Ciopolo and Mary and who am I forgetting? And Mark. But it was so much fun that as it was my sort of my first introduction of my archive, because
Oh, yeah.
it was just so much fun.
Uh,
And Mark, it was the only clip I officially had with Mark
yeah.
that I'm aware of.
Uh-huh.
We did sing in some other situations, and in South Africa we were on tour for a singers festival over there in around in 2001. Funny, the same time period as this video, and it was an all jazz singers festival for 10 days.
Wow.
And Bob DeRoe and myself and Mark Murphy were on the plane together, and it was the greatest thing because I had a best friend, Tom Maslin, who's unfortunately passed away now, was an editor at Newsweek who had written about jazz musicians, and we had become best friends, and he had moved to Cape Town. So, and I had been visualizing how would I see my friend. And I have to say, for the audience, for anybody that's listening, I try to remind myself and anybody else that I work with, don't forget to visualize, because I have created many things. It's what you were talking about, creating your reality. I visualized going to New Zealand, and I visualized seeing my friend in Cape Town, and I went. I don't know about magic. But I do know that I have visualized a lot of things that have come true. And I forget, we get busy and reality, sticks its head in there, and we're worried about what's in front of our face, but there's more out there, and for the desires of our heart and our heart and mind, our voice, our heart, our mind, what we want to say, it's, so don't forget to visualize is the main message there.
Yeah. Just struck me that it'd be really easy to get a group, and it could be a number of groups around, but to at the same time every day to sit down and visualize for 5 or 10 minutes, and then actually, report in to the group. I did it, or whatever you want to say. But it actually, just like you're saying, with the voice exercises, have actually something that doesn't take a long time, so you don't have to. You're not going, oh God, I have to do this today. No, it's like 5 or 10 minutes, and you sit down and do it, and
Right.
and you're responsible.
Right.
So I mean, that could be so many different things that you could do.
Absolutely. And I know whenever I would tell my daughter about visualizing, she always thinks I'm crazy. She just thinks I'm mom's nuts. But I don't know. It worked. I'd been always wanted to sing with an orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
and also around 2000, that time period, I was wondering how could I ever do that? I wasn't like the Ann Hampton Callaway or
Yeah.
somebody that was, or Janice Siegel, or somebody that was easy automatic that's going to be invited to sing with an
Invited, yeah.
orchestra. I've always kind of been an outlier in that, even if it was a label or whatever, I was somebody that was unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it was a problem for them that I didn't. My first record's not like the second record. The second record's not like the third record. The third
Right.
record's not like. But there are relatives in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was funny. I got an email in 2000 asking, I had a agent, what I considered my agent, which was Lisa Goldman. And I would receive those emails for Lisa Goldman and asking if Roseanna Vitro was working in December. And it was about 5 months out when I got this email. And actually, I was working at the Westchester Library, a gig coming up for $100. So on this email, it said it was from Slovenia, from Maribor and Ljubljana, Slovenia, saying the New York Voices were supposed to do our Christmas concert, and Kim Nazarian is going to have a baby, so they're going to have to cancel. And we love Roseanna Vitro's Passion Dance record. We love the way she sings More Than You Know. And, if could she get out of this gig that can come over here, and all we have is $20,000. And I kind of like, damn, okay, I'm going to keep visualizing, man. I said, yeah, Roseanna Vitro is going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to get a sub for the Westchester Library. And Alan Farnham and my Indian drummer at the time, Adrian D'Souza, and my husband, Paul, and my daughter, Sarah. We packed up and off we went to Slovenia. And I got arrangements. Andy Farber wrote, expanded a couple of Kenny Werner's great arrangements for me, on Reaching for the Moon.
So was this with an orchestra?
Yes, it was with the Maribor Orchestra. And there's an album. They made an album, and I just never sold the record. It's one more thing I have to do. I'm telling you, I told you I lived like my feet were on fire and I was running down the road.
Yeah.
I just never stopped.
You're not a Gemini, are you?
I'm a Pisces with Scorpio rising.
Okay.
And I've got all the qualities of the oversensitive fish, and then I've got the fire burning like the Scorpio. So whatever that did, whatever that is, but it was an incredible experience. Kenny's arrangement of Con Sound Sol that's on Reaching for the Moon, it's one of the most incredible arrangements he's ever written. That was just it was like your hair was blowing when the orchestra was playing. My hair was blowing. Just some beautiful arrangements and a great orchestra, and the audience loved me, and it was a miracle. I always think of things like this as a miracle. It's like when I went to Brazil, I took Alan Farnham actually with me to Brazil as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people saw his son's video. Oh, what's his son's name? Alan Farnham and Tomoko. I'm forgetting his son's name, but he's got a video on Facebook that is literally hot. Huh. Yes, and I'm not sure why I'm forgetting that, because everybody was, a zillion people played this video, and it was, and Alan helped him with, he overdubbed sort of like Jacob Collier.
Oh yeah,
a whole bunch of his voices.
Yeah,
and when we were in Slovenia, his son was just a little boy, and from that gig he decided he wanted to play violin. And because Alan and Tomoko both came to that gig. That's going to trouble me that I can't remember his name, but as you know, you could call it COVID, or you could call it
getting older,
maturity, or moving. Well, there's just a lot of names, and that is going to bother me though. But anyway,
You'll remember it in a few
Yes,
minutes.
I will. But any of Michelle Weir, everybody knows knows this video
Oh,
of
is it
Alan's.
Farnham?
Yes, Alan. It's Farnham.
And it's on Facebook?
It's on Facebook. You're gonna drive me to look for it, and I won't be able to exist without it. You can, yeah, you can.
Let's see.
Okay.
If I put in
Absolutely. I've got. Okay.
Farnham. So if I put in Farnham, I'll tell you what
Yeah,
comes up. What comes up is
You mean tell me the truth?
Farnham, Mark Farnham. Mark Farnham?
It's no. It's on Facebook.
It's not Mark, right? Because there's a vocal ranger.
No. And what it is when I open my Facebook, it's me and you. Me and you are there.
Yeah, Farnham.
Willie.
Oh,
Will Farnham.
oh, Will
Google Will Farnham.
Farnham. Will.
Do you see it?
Let's see. Will Farnham, because on Facebook it said Will Farm. So, Will
No,
Farnham.
no. Well, anyway, at least I got it so people could Google Will Farnham. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well.
yeah. That was you just helped me. It was like I'm sure little Jack, my grandson, will help when Grammy Rowe gets the fog in the cockpit. He'll say, "Don't you remember Grammy Rowe? That was Will Farnham, Tomoko's son, Alan and Tomoko Farnham." Yeah, it's all right. I'll send you a link later so that you can have him on sometime, because he is the latest rage. And for me to see that he's become a great singer besides a great violinist, it's pretty darn cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and of
I'll
course
wait
he
for the
loves
link.
yeah, of course he loves Sarah Caswell, who was part of my Randy Newman group that was my most successful album in the light of getting a Grammy nomination.
Uh-huh.
I think for my students to imagine their teacher at 60 years old got a Grammy nomination was pretty wild, and because we're always telling our students, don't ever give up. You never give up.
Yeah.
You just keep working on your music, and you keep your dream up, and you never know which one of your albums will hit, because I've given my same love and attention and musicianship to every album I've ever made.
Yeah.
And they were just different journeys. They were different children of mine, is the way I look at them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, whether we were going to Brazil, or we were going to Bill Evans, are we Claire Fisher? What a trip that was. Wow, that was a really interesting journey, and some of the most difficult music I've sung since Bill Evans music.
Yeah, Claire Fisher.
Oh my God. And some people said, Clara Fisher, I never heard of her.
One time when I was traveling in Switzerland, I met this man who he owned a pipe organ, and he recorded, I don't know if you ever heard this record, but he recorded Claire playing on the pipe organ. You can get it now. And it's just Claire playing Claire Fisher on the pipe organ. It's really wonderful, actually.
I've never seen it, but I know when I study an artist that I'm going to record some of their music and come up with arrangements of my own for that project. I really try to hear everything that they've done, and if they have books, I get their books. And I take that opportunity to do a full study of that musician. And Claire, Mark Soskin taught me into that. And it was a really great journey. And I had some of the people in the business, since I'd been successful with Randy Newman. And I'm so proud to be in Randy's bio now. Randy left the record, by the way.
Wow.
But some of the people that have helped me in the business said, why did you make that Claire Fisher? Why did you make that Claire Fisher record? That was a stupid thing to do. That was the wrong thing. You were finally successful. And I'm like,
Wait, because
I said, I love the Claire Fisher record. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like,
what were
I-
they talking about?
you know, I would have to be a manager, record guy to know exactly what they meant. And I know that Motema Records also did not put out the Claire Fisher record. After my great success, getting the Grammy nomination, and one of the few artists on their label for that year that got a Grammy nomination.
Weird.
And then Claire Fisher was the unloved child.
Because the music was complicated.
I don't know. I don't know.
So
I don't
crazy.
know. I don't know, but it's certainly, if you're on a label like Motema or Concord or Telarc or Challenge or whatever, Mac Avenue, or it makes a difference on how your album is received. And we all know that. That's not a mystery.
Yeah.
It's like if Kristen McBride, who was on my Passion Dance record, by the way, if he decided, to have me on the Newport Festival,
Yeah.
like he did the Royal Bobsters, then it would be, oh, Roseanna, they pulled her from the ocean again and threw her up on the stage, when really I, like so many, continue to do my work, continue to listen, to love, to teach, to inhale all the good in the world, all the great music. And luck just, you never know. You just make your next project and put it out there.
Sorry.
Try to stay
Bill,
healthy.
what did Bill say? He said they wanted you to sell out and be more commercial. Yeah, probably. Because I can't imagine. Yeah, that's crazy. By the way, Sunny Wilkinson sends her love.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen her. And I've never even seen a real show by Sunny.
Oh,
So, damn it. You got to come soon. I'm going to put on shows at my house.
all right.
I'm going to present you, Cathy,
All right.
and Sunny, and we'll get Bill here on drums. And I have so many people I love in the music business. And sometimes I send them emails. Recently, I wrote Mark Winkler a note when I saw that he was teaching a new lyric writing class.
I took some of that class.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yep.
And
That's
I
great.
just wrote to him and said, I just want you to know that I think of you, and that someday when I can, time manage better, I think that's what they call it, time management. I'd love to take one of these classes with you, and because we did a show together in New York, he invited me in to be his singer on one of his shows, and it was really fun.
He's
And
great. He's a great person.
he's terrific.
Great.
And I love so many of the LA people. Judy Wexler.
Yep.
I'm due to call Peanut soon. I call her Peanut. And Denise Donatelli, I love her.
Julie Kelly, you probably
Julie
love.
Kelly. She was Bill Stillfield's favorite singer on CMG Records that My
Yeah.
Reaching for the Moon went out on.
No.
And I loved Bill Stillfield. He's still breathing as far as I know. I hope he is. Julie was his favorite singer.
Julie's going to do a gig. She's going to, there's been, last year there was this country club, the Chevy Chase Country Club, that had jazz evenings. So she and Karen Hammock, who's an excellent, excellent piano player, they're going to do a gig in a few weeks.
Great.
Yeah, outdoors, I think.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I meant to tell you, in fact, I'm going to have to make myself a note. I did a Claire Fisher song, Pensativa, on my second to last record,
The
Dreamsville.
most famous, one of the most famous.
Yeah, with Larry Koontz and Josh Nelson, and we did it as a
Wow.
waltz.
Wow. I
Really
love that.
pretty. So I'm going to send you that.
Please, please do.
Um,
Well, I opened my record with Morning, and it was, wow, such a Mark Soskin arrangement. Mark and I have done
Let me hear that
arrangements for,
record.
for 3 records, and I love arranging with Mark. He's somebody that's one of the most cheerful musicians I've ever worked with, which is why I love taking him on the road. There's no whining, there's no crying. Um, when the stuff gets tough, he's there, he's positive, and you need that on the road. You don't need the prima donnas on the road. God help us.
Certainly don't.
Yeah, there's bad pianos or something happens with the sound system.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff happens.
I used to travel with a guy who was just, oh God, he's just, everything just
Whining.
bugged him. Yeah, whining.
Like the president,
Good God.
like Donald Trump, whining all the time. It's like, shut up, stop whining. It doesn't help.
Pull up your pants and get on with
Really?
it.
Pull up your lip, man, and let's get to work.
What was the worst gig you ever did?
Wow. I used to do a gig at a club called Manila with Bobby Enriquez. And one time, by the way, I met Imelda Marcos there. And all I
Really?
could think of was her shoes. Anyway, I got all kinds of funny stories for a book. But it was one of the things I hate more than anything is a bad drummer. I mean, for me, a drummer makes the gig or not.
Yeah.
I can endure a mediocre bass player or even a mediocre piano player. And I don't mean in any way anything insulting. I'm not even saying anybody is mediocre.
Right.
But I'm just saying on the road, when you run into all kinds of people that you're thrown together with. But the bad drummers, I cannot handle. It really makes, if they're drinking and they slow down or... So on this gig with Bobby Enriquez, we had a drummer that he had done him a favor and he hired, and this guy was real cute and had some guy carrying all of his stuff, and he had way too many drums in this stupid
oh my God.
place
You're
he was.
reminding me of people. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then he was a terrible drummer, and he never watched me. And I'm like a traffic cop giving directions. It's like, I'm not going to do the same thing all the time. Guess what? And, and if you don't watch me, then you're going to miss it. And I'm going to really give you shit. I'm going to go over and get in your face and look at you. And I even in India, when I was over there with the drummer that wound up moving here and touring with me for a while, first thing I did when he wasn't paying attention, I went over to him and almost did a Carmen and grabbed his wrist and said, where are you? Hello, wake up. I'm here. I'm singing. But this guy was terrible. And, Bobby left it up to me. If you really think it's so awful and he's really not that good, you're going to have to say that he's not coming back the next night, because it was a 2-night gig. And it was just a really awful experience. I buckled up and I went over at the end of the gig, and he was like, oh, it was a great gig and all this, because, you can't act like a bitch on the bandstand. You have to, you got to be nice. The audience is there. And I said, I'm sorry, but we just can't, Bobby wanted me to tell you that we just can't do another night with you, and you're going to have to pack up your drums, and we're going to bring somebody else in or go without a drummer. And he looked at me like, it was like so insulted, and it was like the worst. I know there's a couple of other musicians whose names I will not mention that put me in the position of being the bad guy at a recording session once that was really terrible, where I had to tell a couple of guys that were friends of mine that we were going to get somebody else for the second day of recording, and this musician could have told them, and he did not, and he left it to me, and I was the one that got all the hell.
I hate
So
when that happens.
if you're the leader, and then you decide, some things you look back on and you say, well, I should have just eaten the money for that session and just had another session, rather than be hurtful to people. Because I'm really a soft heart. My heart is, wow, as big as Texas. And I hate to hurt somebody's feelings. I am super sensitive, and I don't ever like insulting or hurting someone. When I was younger, I had a bigger mouth than I had sense. So that's one thing. But then as an older adult with more understanding and more experience, I've tried to be much more measured and careful about what I say. It really means a lot to me not to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah. I don't know why I asked you that question. It just popped up.
Well, I got a million funny stories.
We've all had moments like that, but I do remember a drummer actually like that who was in Japan. And he was, Mr. Tough Shit, I guess, and he had, the guys setting up for him, and
Right.
and he was
Oh,
so
yeah.
horrible, especially with the piano player I was traveling with. It was the piano player was like Keith Jarrett, that kind of player.
Oh, God.
The
Oh, God.
drummer was nothing like that. It was really
Right.
horrible. And that piano player was also kind of the whiny guy too. So
Oh.
and I just had to oh God. I really, I just
No, a bad drummer.
tired
I'm just here to
taking care
say,
of
for me, a bad drummer is the worst.
Yeah.
It's if they can't keep time. I mean, even in voice lessons, that we're giving, singers have to be able, on my exercises, you got to snap your fingers and sing these exercises in time. You have
Yeah.
to be able to snap on 2 and 4 in time. Hello? And and a singer has to have their own internal time, and besides, for God's sakes, the drummer having their time. So time is super important, and we all know that. And
I remember a drummer once said that to me. He said, "Time is the most important thing," and I thought, well, you're a drummer, you're going to say that, but he was totally right. He was 100% right.
well, it's like what I was saying about the scatting, like drummers that scat, like Paul Jost.
Yeah.
Since you said Paul Jost was on for a minute, he's somebody that is a drummer and worked apparently for many years as a drummer. I only really heard Paul this last year, and was, of course, delighted. He caused a stir in the vocal community now with his singing. And of course, he's also decided to use Tim Horner and Dean Johnson, who had been my rhythm section and Ann Hampton Callaway's rhythm section and Kendra Shank's rhythm section. And the great guys turn out to you. It's not like you can put a quarter in and you get to have, nobody owns them.
Right.
But Paul, really, that's part of everybody's affection for Paul's singing, is his great scat singing. Besides his earnest and heartfelt, his soulful.
Oh yeah.
As much as I talk, Paul Jost talks more than I do.
You think so?
Oh my God! On a gig, I sat there and I giggled and laughed at the 55 bar. He was revved up. Well, it was a CD release party, and he was excited, and he had a packed house in there, and it was all of us. It was everybody that you love was in the audience. Roz Corral and Kendra and just a whole bunch of us. And it's not that we thought that he did anything wrong. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, when he
Uh,
was here, I looked around we set up a nice home concert, right, with about 60 or 70 people.
oh my
And
God.
the people they were actually sitting there stunned when he was performing. They were stunned, which
Well, he
yeah, I've set up a lot of concerts in there and
magnetism, charisma,
yeah,
heart,
he's so real. I really
conviction.
love him a lot
Yes,
as a
he's
person.
very lovable.
Yes, he really is. Actually, Sheila Jordan sang there too at this house concert, a different night. And that, the last song, I looked around and everybody was crying.
Sheila can do that to you. I love I just loved working with Sheila, and because of course we've known each other since, gosh, 25, 30 years ago or something on the scene. And but to do this project with her was really special because everybody knows that Sheila is our example of the right way to carry on in this music.
Yeah,
She doesn't let anything stop her, and she stands for good music. And I've seen her on stage with Diane Reeves and all kinds of the greatest singers in the world, and they honor her. And she cracks me up, though. Her honesty is arresting. When we were doing this project, after all the years I've known her, she says to me, "By the way, Roseanna, I was just wondering, is that story about you and Miles Davis true?" And I'm like, "What?" I said, "Are you serious? You're asking me about that, Sheila?" I said, "That's old news from 100 years ago." I said, "Yes, it was true. And if you want to know the details, well, how come you didn't have him arrested?" I said, "Because I was a new young singer in New York, and so I'm going to take Miles Davis to court. I'm going to have him arrested. Are you serious? I had two nickels to rub together, and I'm going to call the police on Miles Davis." I said, "No, I don't think so. I'm just lucky I got away with my pantyhose on and a quarter in my purse to get out of, to get home, to go to the village." And so only Sheila Jordan would ask me that question. And she's one of the only ones I would probably have the wherewithal to go ahead and tell her the story that will go in my book. If I'm sure there's a lot of people afraid of if I write a book. Fred Hirsch, Kenny Werner, Miles is dead, so that's okay.
Oh my God. Well, it's 2 hours, so
Okay, all right.
wasn't
Well,
that easy?
it was. I'm sorry we didn't play more music. I know for the musicians out there, the last thing they probably wanted to do is hear me rattle on. But and when I hang up, I'll be sad that I didn't think to ask you a lot more questions or something. But just know that I love you and I really appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Thanks.
And I'm sure our paths will cross, and I will hopefully do something wonderful to help you as well.
Well, I probably will play you as we're leaving, but it's been great to talk again because it's been a long time,
It's
and
been a long time,
yeah,
and we're cut from so much the same cloth.
yeah,
As you were saying, the old jazzers that got us going and taught us that if somebody's better than you at a challenge, you just get out of the way. You don't get mad. You go do your work, like you said. Go do your work. Get back in that woodshed.
yeah, and I know you're just gonna keep going, and that I don't see that a lot. I see a lot of people doing great things, but there's something a little different about what you're doing. You keep working on these things and projects that are really, to me, quite valuable. And then once you finish that one, okay, it's time for the next one. You get these ideas, you put one foot in front of the other, you work on it with a lot of
Yes.
heart and
Yes.
soul. So I want to
Yep.
applaud you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the journeys I've taken, and I've been very lucky to be supported by Paul Wycliffe for 38 years of having a guy that's one of the greatest recording engineers and a great father, and somebody that when I sing a flat note, it's the end of the friggin' world. And he's it's like, can you hear? Can you? What? Are you sure you want to keep that? So I always call to task about anything that when I stink or do something wrong or say something wrong. Jeff Levinson will always tell me when I say something wrong. Do you realize what you just said? Oh, is that a problem? So anyway, so I've been very lucky is the point. And I'm very grateful. I'm so grateful, and just want to help make the world a better place is really what I want to do.
Well, you're already doing that.
And you are too,
Thank
lady.
you. And I'm going to just tell who's going to be on next week.
Okay.
In fact, tomorrow, Dina DeRose is going to be on,
Dina. I
which I'm
love
really
her.
excited. Yeah. And then Tuesday, I don't know if you might not know some of these people, but Kim Richmond. Do you know Kim?
I don't know Kim personally, and there's a couple of Kim Richmonds. I used to know a drummer named Kim Richmond, but this
Oh,
is the saxophone player, right?
yeah. He's one of my favorite alto players, but mostly he's in LA anyway. He's known for it's not the typical big band. It's big band writing, but it's more modern music. And I mean, it's really great to hear a big band play, more modern, right? So he's a composer, arranger, band leader. And then Wednesday, Corey Allen, which should be really interesting, right?
Yes, Corey Allen played with me in Switzerland
Oh,
and with a big band orchestral thing there at a
oh,
workshop I gave.
how cool.
Yes, please. Yeah, I'll get on and say hi.
Okay, that's Wednesday. And then I have a day off on Thursday and Friday. I
Good.
have a real interesting trio of people: Kate McGarry, Lenora Helms,
Okay.
and Shauna Tucker.
I don't know Shauna, but I know Kate I'll say very well, just from our experiences in New York. And she was so lovely to sing on my last record, Tell Me the Truth, with me on I'll Fly Away that we played. And
She's sung
then,
on a record with me too. We did Velho Piano, which is a really beautiful Brazilian song, and she and I sang together. And that
well,
was so much fun. Oh my God.
she's so easy to love. And Lenora Helms, now I love her attention to teaching. Besides, she's one more really good singer that turned her attention to teaching, and is somebody that makes things happen.
Yeah, she seemed very strong. That she actually, I didn't know. Kate wanted to bring Shauna and Lenora in, and Shauna, I know. Shauna's a wonderful cellist, composer, and singer, and
I don't know her. Yeah, I'll
she
have to.
is a joy. If you ever get a chance to meet her, you'll love her. She's just full of heart.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then Saturday, I'm having Michael Abene.
Oh my God. Well, he's pretty famous.
He's pretty famous. He's a composer, arranger, orchestrator. He worked for the WDR, and he
Yes.
worked with the Metropolitan Opera.
Everybody knows Michael. He's Judy Silvano, um, and Joey Lovano, have Micah Benny frequently up to their house when we could all have parties up at Judy's house. They were, really cool, the coolest parties. And Micah Benny and his wife, we would always see up there. And he's just fantastic. You know, he arranged a Frank Sinatra tribute small group record for Judy Silvano that was really crazy interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have to check that out. That sounds great. Yeah, I would say I know who told me about him. What is her name? She, like you, she came to my house a long time ago for workshops. Um, Nancy Morano.
Oh, yes.
She
I
worked with
know
him.
Nancy Morano, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. So she worked with him a lot, or did, especially back in that time period.
Yeah, Nancy sounds great on her orchestral records, big band records.
Yeah.
She's a fine singer.
And then end the week with Rebecca Kilgore and Tom Wakeling.
And of course, Rebecca Kilgore has her own space marked out. She's definitely got her own little square that she represents, that she owns. I think that's what happens to so many. It's like John Pizzarelli. Um, you wouldn't say, I wouldn't say he's the greatest male singer out there. I would say that he is somebody that really carved his own square of, really entertaining and a great musician, great guitar player, and somebody that's very lovable on stage. Audiences all over the world love him.
Yeah.
So, that's something to aspire to for any artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Really. Yeah. It's almost better than, it's almost better than anything, right? And I just want to say one thing. I'm gonna figure this out and talk about it more. But next weekend, I'm thinking Sunday, possibly in the afternoon, Pacific time, that I'm going to instigate a memorial for a great piano player named Dave Mackay. This is more for everybody.
Oh, and I didn't realize that Dave Mackay passed.
Just like last week.
It's like Holly Ross. Oh my God. It's like
That was
people are,
weird.
our hearts, my heart jumped out of my body.
That was so
Uh,
weird.
and Dave Mackay, I had no idea. Thank you for
Yeah.
telling me.
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is do a Zoom, invite smaller number of people to speak,
Yes.
and then invite people to write things, and we'll post them because, I'm sure there's, hundreds of people who would have something to
Yes.
say, and we don't want to be on for 5 hours. But
I know. I know.
but anyway, thank you again for being on. It was really so
Thank you
fun to hang out with
so
you.
much. Thank you. Thank you. I love
I
you.
love you too.
And see you around.
Okay.
I'll be seeing you.
I'll be seeing
Yes.
you.
In all the old familiar places.
All
All
right.
right, you.
Bye, sweetheart. And bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye.